What's up, everybody? I'm Brad Thomas here with Vaughn Dalzell and Eric Froton, and this is the NBC Sports live college football betting Q&A. Remember, throughout this entire show, be sure to ask your favorite questions. Let's start off with a go USA, down 2 at half. USA, USA, USA. Listen, last week was tough. Boys, Vaughn, I'll start off with you, man. What have you thought so far about what's happened in college football this week?
Oh, man, it was crazy last night. The books absolutely cleaned up on everybody. Buffalo didn't cover during the day. Utah came through when everyone was on USC. We were up by 14 points, feeling great till the injury to Caleb Williams happened. He still toughed it out and looked great, but USC's defense had a better tackling rate than Utah's entering that game. Well, not anymore. And then, of course, North Texas was our babies all season, but Austin Aune, 0 passing yards in the fourth quarter. Absolutely hate to see it. So today will be a much better day for all of us, and I think it's going to be a great day with hopefully some upsets. So, Eric, how are you feeling, man? How was your Friday?
I had a good Friday, but gosh, last night with that USC-Utah game, one of the more interesting unders that you're going to see, especially from a guy like Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams had at one point 90 rushing yards. I believe it was even entering the second half.
Yeah.
He went on, thanks to his injury. Obviously, everybody who watched that game saw he was legitimately limping around and could barely move. But you are not going to see a quarterback accrue 90 yards and a half and still miss out on his 25 and a half rushing yards prop like Caleb Williams did last night. Somehow, despite being up in the – he only had 21 yards rushing. He lost 69 yards of rushing yards in the second half because he was that immobile. A guy who's running a 4.5 at least. I think he's about a 4.5, Caleb Williams. Yeah. For him to lose 70 rushing yards, he took a ton of sacks. Gutty performance from him. He tried to do what he could, but he was a rudderless ship without an engine and a sitting duck. So unfortunately that under cashed while the over did not, despite an improbable circumstance. But
definitely credit to Utah. Definitely credit to Utah's defense. As soon as he got hurt, they were like, we're blitzing every single play. Took away the run game and Caleb Williams' athleticism. So they just can't beat Utah. They can't beat them.
They can't.
What's funny is I made I make the preseason stuff for NBC Sports, and one of my examples was Utah plays elite defense. When we make statements like this, it's all relative, right? It's elite defense for the Pac-12. And someone goes, I love how you said elite defense, like mocking me, right? Guys, I keep receipts. You better believe I retweeted that man last night after Utah won the Pac-12 and cashed me my nice little plus 250 with UCLA going over 8.5 wins. So we're Caleb Williams Heisman away from a clean sweep in the Pac-12. So I just said we keep the receipts, but let's get the ball rolling. Let's talk about our playoff picture. We'll be brief on this. But, man, listen, Ohio State backs in. No one loves Whittingham more than Ryan Day right now. I'll start with my prediction. I do think TCU gets the job done today. It's going to be a close game. I'll talk about it later. But Georgia, Michigan, TCU, and Ohio State in that order. Eric, what's your order and what's your thoughts on this playoff prediction so far?
Yeah, we're getting the kind of chaos that we all want. When we go to the 12-team playoff, we won't have this kind of drama. It'll be much further down the board. Yeah. But I do agree. I'm Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, and then I'm picking Kansas to beat TCU. I think Alabama slips in because the Emperor, the Dark Lord, Nick Saban always finds a way. So I'm going off the script here a little bit. I'm thinking Bama gets in, and I'm going with Kansas State.
I love it because I'm feeling the exact same way, Eric. This is how I thought of it, though. If I was voting on this game and TCU loses today, which, of course, we're just going to keep riding that train, right, until they do it. Hopefully, we can say we're right at one point this season. But if Alabama and Ohio State played Kansas State on a neutral field, is Kansas State a favorite? Or is TCU a favorite? TCU is not a favorite in that game at all. Neither of those games. All right. We're talking about a blowout factor potentially. I give TCU its credit. Big 12 is down this year. in a big, big way, in my opinion. And Alabama's 2 losses are by 4 points to 2 very good teams. Ohio State's losses to an undefeated Michigan team. Like, if TCU loses today, I want to see the Dark Lord, Alabama, Nick Saban in there too. So let's do it.
Listen, as a Bama guy, I scour Twitter and I look at people's takes. People are legitimately will set the world on fire if Alabama gets into the playoffs.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Yep.
I'm here for
chaos.
I'm here for it. Well, speaking of TCU, let's talk about the Big 12 title game. Kansas State versus TCU. The line has been plummeted down all the way to -1 for TCU. Eric, go ahead. Tell me a little bit what you like about this game.
Yeah, well, as you mentioned, we've seen a severe market correction. I mean, this opened up at 2.5, and it's stuck at 2.5 for almost the entire week. We've just seen this late trading where the late money's coming in and moving this thing down to closer to a money line. I liked Kansas State. I believe I took them as my money line sprinkle. I know Vaughn did, which is why you're my boy. But I had Kansas State at plus 1,500, 15-1 before the season. So I have been pot committed all year. I'm a bit slanted because of that, since I do have a financial interest here. I wouldn't blame anybody for, going the other side. But keep in mind, when in the last time these two teams played, Kansas State got up to a 28-10 lead, despite the fact that Adrian Martinez had started that game only threw 2 passes. And he was forced to come in. Will Howard was forced to come in after having not thrown a single pass all season in week 8 to come in and have to try to rescue this dumpster fire with Adrian Martinez out. He came in and promptly led them to that 28-10 lead with 8 minutes left in the second quarter. He was humming. He had that offense rolling. Obviously, TCU made the adjustments. Props to Sonny Dykes and his staff, and proceeded to rattle off 28 straight points to win 38-28 in that game. But you got to understand, everything went wrong for Kansas State in that second half. 2 missed field goals, 2 turnovers. Yes. One of those interceptions that were thrown in the second half was from Jake Rudley, who is the 3rd-string quarterback who Sonny Dykes put in for a series for some reason. Ran the ball into the line, and then his only pass was an interception, and a bad one that led to a score. Unforced errors really hurt Kansas State, and frankly, errors that were out of their control with Adrian Martinez. With Will Howard having 4 games of starting experience for this year to hone his craft, get starters reps. He did come in for Skylar Thompson in 2020 and led Kansas State that whole season during the pandemic. So he has experience. This isn't an unexperienced quarterback that's come in. I like, because of those factors, I think Kansas State plays a cleaner game, doesn't have the kind of second half mistakes they had last time, and I think they win this game, and I'm taking them on the money line.
Ooh, on the money line.
Yeah, I mean, I would always just say take a point if you can get it, but I don't know if you're going to need it. I don't think this is going to be a 1-point game either way. Yeah. I think we're going to see this be at least a field goal margin or more by either team that wins. I think TCU is going to have to throw a lot more than they want to in this game. We saw Kansas State, their pace, the way they play defense could be a problem for TCU. Baylor did a little bit. Oklahoma State caused some problems, but Kansas State was the one that did the most damage. And how Eric said about Will Howard, I mean, he had experience last year as well. This guy is seasoned. One of the best backup quarterbacks in the entire country. And getting him in a Big 12 game now with tons of games under his belt entering this game is huge. So, yeah, they're on my money line sprinkles. I can't sit here and say we're going to best bet them 2-unit, 3-unit, and try and get our money back after they've made this miraculous, insane run trying to copy Joe Burrow at LSU a couple years ago. But I do think this is a time where I can still fade Kansas State, and I'm okay if TCU slips away with the win.
Yeah, so guys, we put out our staff pick article, and every single part of me wanted to take TCU. I wrote the whole doggone thing, a full article, right? And as I'm rereading my article, I'm like, at no point do I give a compelling reason as to why TCU wins this game outside of Sonny Dykes and the way he coaches the game. On paper, these two teams are a lot closer than what people are thinking. At least what people are thinking in the media, where the media is saying that TCU rolls this game. If I want to look at their offense, Kansas State's offense under Will Howard, passing against TCU's pass defense. I'd give the nod to Kansas State. They have probably a tie, Deuce Vaughn versus Kendre Miller. There's a lot here. Kansas State's D-line versus TCU's offensive line, probably going to Kansas State. There's too many even out factors in this game. So I ended up taking Kansas State in our People's Parlay up a little bit higher than the spread to parlay it on there, because I do think if TCU win this game, it's going to be a very close one. So for me, I think I would have this separated by probably maybe a point and a half. Margins aren't as thin as NFL, and we know that. But in championships games where pace slows down a lot, those margins start to matter. Let's move over Eric, did you give your prop out in this game yet?
Well, it's also his best bet. Should we wait for it?
Well, no, I have another best bet, but yes.
Okay.
I am going with, all right, so as we saw last night, Caleb Williams left the back door open for a potential Heisman, contender. I mean, obviously we talked, it was a gutty performance, given the injury situation he was dealing with, but hey, you lost the game, and you lost twice to Utah. The door is open. Max Duggan was plus 3,000 to win the Heisman yesterday morning. Those odds have changed, and the door is open. While obviously I do think that Kansas State, I do favor them in this game, at 245.5 passing yards for Max Duggan and this TCU offense. Look, they're going to throw the kitchen sink to win this game. We know this. If Kansas is up, which again, I think that it's very reasonable game script, which they could be up. They did have a great second half last game with a backup signal caller. They get out to a lead. Look, Max Duggan at 245.5, that's going to get obliterated if they are down at all, game script wise. I think he crushes it. TCU needs to win. Max Duggan, potential Heisman backdoor. I think you have to at least provide for the fact that he could go and have a signature performance and lock up the Heisman Trophy. I'm at least going to throw a little money on his over 245.5 passing yards, a very reasonable number. I'm going with that for Max Duggan in order to hedge a little bit on that Kansas State.
Max Duggan is 15-1 to win Heisman.
I put a 0.3 unit on win the Heisman. I would have gone a little bit further, but that wins me 5 units. I will say this, Heisman voting started, and trust me, I've been in a wormhole doing this research for the past 3 weeks. The second I really believed that Caleb Williams had a chance. Heisman voting, everyone knows, starts well before the college football conference championships. A lot of voters vote before championship week unless they were hung between two guys. So that's the reason why I didn't go too heavily on Duggan. Wilder things have happened. I do think the gap between Kyler Murray and Tua? Tyler Murray and Tua Tagovailoa was a lot more close until conference championship weekend, where Kyler put on that massive performance and Tua had to get relieved by Jalen Hurts, ultimately leading to Kyler winning the championship. So margins are thin, but there are a couple of guys out there who could swing. So if this was probably receiving 55% of the first place votes, and Max Duggan goes out there and throws for a massive thing, that's probably what it would take. But we don't know who casted their votes yet. So it's worth a little sprinkle if you guys do have the Caleb Williams Heisman that we're sitting on. 0.3 units is not going to kill your profit. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, I don't hate that either. I'm probably going to sprinkle a little something on it too. Why not?
Yeah. Let's move over to Toledo versus Ohio. Toledo 3-point favorite. Ohio, the total set at 54.5. Go ahead and start this one off, Vaughn. Got any leans or any plays in this game?
This is one of the games that I couldn't decide on because I'm very scared. The line's moving towards Toledo because everyone sees that Curtis Rourke is out for Ohio, the quarterback. So naturally, everyone's going to want to play the opposite side of that line movement. But as we all know here, backup quarterbacks can get it done on the NFL or college football landscape. We've seen it happen plenty of times this season already. We just talked about Will Howard doing it. If I would lean anywhere, it'd be the under 54.5 in this game. Toledo's offense should struggle somewhat with Ohio's defense. I really like the rushing defense for the Bobcats, but Toledo's offense could have a day. When I look at the tackling numbers, we made fun of USC. Ohio's defense doesn't have the best tackling numbers either. So I would lean the under 54.5. It's pretty high, but at the same time, we know what Maction's really about. I would look for a live in-game opportunity and get this below 60 because a lot of games that go above 60 on totals tend to hit the under. So if you can get this at 61.5 or under and live in the game, I would probably do that.
Yeah, as far as this game, I capped this earlier in the week when it initially came out. This opened at +4.5. And obviously, as we've seen, got hammered down fairly quickly. In addition to that, the over-under was listed at 60.5. That's got down to 54.5, despite the fact that Daquan Finn, quarterback for Toledo, who has been banged up, pretty severely banged up last week, is expected to start. Now, just because Finn is expected to start, I don't even know if that's such a good thing. You know, he played last week against Western Michigan, where they lost 20-14. Toledo's really backing into this game with 2 straight losses, but a dreadful performance from Finn against Western Michigan. 5 for 11 for 35 yards, 2 interceptions, and the last one was a pick six that was just a dreadful decision to make that particular pass. But backup quarterback Tucker Gleason came in, and he basically had to come in. They had to bench Daquan Finn. So with him coming in again, we talked about Ohio. While they aren't one of the most intimidating defensive teams you're going to really see, this is the MAC. And over the past 6 games, Tim Albin's crew, the head coach who took over for Frank Solich, they're only allowing 19 points per game over their last 7 contests. And that's, in the MAC, a pretty darn good number. The highest they allowed was 24. Okay, so we can't exactly go by what Ohio was getting marched on by the Power 5 teams in their off-conference slate. I want to look at what they're doing against the MAC, and apples to apples, they've done a pretty darn good job. I am going to back Ohio. They did a great job there. Unlike Toledo, they're not backing into this game. They went out and took care of business against Bowling Green, put it on them 38-14. Their backup quarterback, Curtis Rourke isn't playing, all right? The Rourke legacy between Curtis and obviously his brother, who spent 4 years as the starting quarterback, is still well intact. He'll be back next season. But C.J. Lewis is a 5th-year player for this Ohio team, okay? We're not starting a true freshman who's going to be scared by the bright lights.
Yeah.
He played last game, and he was awesome, all right? That's the reason why they put up 38 points is because Lewis is a battle-tested, grizzled vet. This is the 10th-ranked passing offense in the country as well for Ohio. So it's not all Rourke. They have talent. Sam Wiglitz on the outside. Sia Bangora for their running back. He has proven to be explosive. He's at 103.5. I don't think you can credibly take an under on him in this situation. I'm all over Ohio. I like it. And I do even like C.J. Harris clearing 215.5 passing yards. I think that's a pretty reasonable number.
I like it. I don't have a lean on this game. I'm probably just going to watch it and enjoy it. So we can move over to our best bets. First, I want to do a little bookkeeping. Vaughn, didn't my best bet win last week?
If you had Jamal, if you had Burton, it didn't. But
he had a 60-yard catch.
Oh, you had the over.
Yeah, the over.
There you go.
Oh,
Vaughn. Jermaine Burton. Yeah, Jermaine Burton.
The only
reason I even
bets last week.
Yeah, we swept it. The only reason I remember is it was my birthday, and so I'm at the bar, and someone asked me, "What do I want for my birthday?" I said, "I want Alabama to win by at least 22 points and Jermaine Burton to cash." And he cashed on his first catch, and so everyone at the bar was like, "Holy crap!" And then Alabama won by 22 points, and I was like, "Perfect, that's all I cared about." And I should have never said that because I ended up messing up my luck at the casino and didn't walk away with a ton of money. So I should have said win money at the casino, but I regress. The best bets time. And of course, we have to kick it to Eric first. He is the clubhouse leader. He will win this season. So go ahead and tell me.
Yeah, well, I mean, I appreciate that. Obviously, proud that I've been able to do a pretty good job in terms of picking my best bets. As you mentioned, 11-2 this season. That is
crazy.
Legit. Everybody who's been with us knows 11-2. That's not made up. So I actually have a lot of pressure here on this particular best bet. I am going to go with Quentin Johnston, wide receiver, TCU, under 75.5 receiving yards. Now, I know I took Max Duggan, obviously, and I like him to have some theatrics, but Quentin Johnston has been really banged up over the past couple of weeks. I mean, it's noticeable in terms of when you're watching him out there running his routes. He's going to need to be running bare naked down the field in order to be able to pull this off. I sincerely think Kansas State is going to try to shorten this game. Obviously, I like them to win. They're going to try to do everything they can to try to keep Quentin Johnson from beating them. I mean, 6'4", 215 pounds. They have a whole host of small, sort of quick type receivers, Darius Davis, Tay Barber. I just think that what I've seen from Quentin Johnson the past couple of weeks, it's not the same guy we were seeing previous in the year. He was set at 77.5. That's what I had him written down at. He has ticked down 2 yards on DraftKings, 75.5. On FanDuel, he's down to 71.5. Clearly, the late money is coming in on that under, and the reason why is because of that appropriate skepticism. He wasn't bet, in my opinion, earlier in the week because you have sharps waiting until day of the game because you can get more down at the brick and mortar kiosks for FanDuel, DraftKings on day of the game because they look at it as being settled lines. Earlier in the week, they will not allow you to put down the kind of volume. You can get 2,000-3,000 down at the window day of. You will not be able to do that without setting off major red flags before that happens. So that's why I think we're seeing Quentin Johnson tick down. He's been injured. 77 to 71. He's at 75 right now. I'm taking that under.
Okay. So I'm going to go. Actually, Vaughn, I'm going to kick it to you first because I kind of like this angle. I just want to hear why you like it.
My guy. Well, you know, we're riding with the Broncos of Boise State. Super excited for this game because both these teams have been awesome lately. Fresno State's won 7 straight games to clinch Mountain West Conference berth. Boise State's won 6 of the last 7. They lost the game to BYU in the final seconds of that game. A questionable touchdown catch by Nakua, or however you say his last name for BYU.
Correct.
He's an amazing wide receiver. But anyways, the last 2 times these teams met, Boise State won 40-20 at home. And that was Taylon Green's first game as a starter this season. And you know Boise State's been a lot better offensively since that point in the year. He has 20 touchdowns to 4 picks. Jake Haener, Fresno State QB, has 19 touchdowns to 3 picks. But the last 9 games in the Mountain West Conference titles have gone under. So I look at the 54.5 and why I think it could go under and why Boise State's the right side is the defense. I like my picks this week because of defense. Unlike last night's 2 teams, I bet USC and North Texas. Boise State has given up 23 or fewer points in every conference game this season for the first time since 1980. That is ridiculous. They allow 17.8 points per game, 9th in the country. I just love this defense in general, and the offense is explosive in the run game. Taylon Green doesn't turn the ball over. I like Boise State to win by more than a field goal, so that's my 1.5 unit best bet. We started this season 0-4 on best bets. We've been 6-3 the past 9 weeks, so let's finish strong. We got a couple shows left, baby.
Yeah, I'm going with J.J. McCarthy, Michigan quarterback, over 15.5. Minus 113, and that's rushing yards for anybody who's going to tail. Listen, McCarthy shows that, he knows how to move the chains with his legs, but what's more impressive outside of him running the ball like 5 times per game is he doesn't take sacks. Michigan's one of the leaders in fewest sacks per game. If you watch what happened with Caleb Williams, you see how sacks really hurt mobile quarterbacks in the overall numbers of the game. And then this Purdue side has something around 20 sacks on the season, most of which are against statues in the pocket. This Michigan offensive line proved, and this is probably up for debate for Ohio State fans, but proved that they can hang tough and they can be physical at the point of attack. I've been talking about that as one of the strengths for Ohio State's defensive line throughout the season. And Michigan proved that they'd be able to keep their quarterback upright. Only 1 sack in that game. So I'm all over J.J. McCarthy. I only did 1.5 units this week. As we go through conference championship games and we go through bowl games, you'll start to notice that me personally, I scale down the volume. I scale down the unit sizes as we go on. So this best bet's only 1.5 unit, but I still like McCarthy. I see a couple big runs in him this week as well.
He's athletic. He's looked really good the past couple of weeks.
Definitely. I was on that last week. I am on this again. I have placed a play on J.J. McCarthy's over 15.5 rushing yards. And a big thing is, like you said, this is the Joe Moore award-winning offensive line from last year. They brought back 4 starters. They are once again a finalist for the Joe Moore Award. Yeah. And if you saw last game, how and you pointed out against Ohio State, they ran plenty of RPOs with Blake Corum out. And obviously we know he's out for this game too. We'll see Donovan Edwards and his club hand back. But they ran plenty of RPOs, and McCarthy was very good about picking his spots about when to pull it down. And he did a great job in short yardage, being able to crank out 5, 6, 7 yards when he needs to, when he sees those holes. I think he'd get at least 6 or 7 of those. And again, good luck to Purdue penetrating that Michigan offensive line to go and harass a pretty mobile McCarthy, who's good in terms of his footwork in the pocket and avoiding the rush and still being able to step up and scramble. So I love that play as well, Brad. I'm on it too.
Let's get it.
Are we gonna squad ride JJ McCarthy rushing yards? Is that
squad ride? Is that what we're doing? Squad ride?
Are we following up the Drew Pine successful squad ride of last week with a JJ McCarthy?
We were on Aiden O'Connell's squad ride last week. We took Aiden O'Connell. But we just all told Brad at night because Brad's birthday. You know, he was just winning every bet. Actually.
Yeah.
So
Drew Pine slung it and then said, "All right, peace out. I'm out. Going to a better system for a quarterback. Let's go."
Yep. Well, that's what happens. You go with a squad ride. That was his pinnacle of the season. He knew that once he was involved that it was on. So, okay, good. Family plays. We love it. Let's go.
Let's go.
Yes, family plays. Speaking of families, speaking of the people, thinking about together, the people's parlay. We got to hit these soon. We got to hit this one soon. I like ours. Vaughn already touched on why he likes Boise State. I touched on why I like Kansas State. +4, why I like that. The margins are too close. The teams are too close on paper for this to be anything more than a 2-point spread. And then Eric is on Ohio versus Toledo. You parlay those together, your odds are +563. So again, that's Ohio money line, Boise State money line, Kansas State +4. And since we're talking about Kansas State, a bite of life said, Alabama better not make the playoff. If TCU if the TCU gets beat by 2 touchdowns, we at least have an argument. I have put zero stress into this. I said this is the first time in a long time that Alabama is ending the season, and I don't have to stress about us making the playoffs. Because if now, we have nothing to lose. If we don't make it, I'm like, good. We didn't deserve to be in. We make it, y'all boys better be ready. Let's talk about this game. Coastal Carolina. I saw that. First, let's talk about. I'll set the game up. Coastal Carolina versus Troy. Troy's the 7-point favorite. I thought they were the dog. Wow, that's crazy. 47.5 is the total. Start this one off on.
Yeah. I bet you probably thought it was too. I was pretty shocked, but Coastal, their quarterback has been out, so they've been a completely different team over the past.
I thought he was playing, so that's the only reason I was like a little shocked.
Yeah, and actually this line just ticked up in the past couple of minutes to 49.5 on the over-under. So it looks like there's some sharp money or pros playing the over in this game. Troy was laying 8.5 and 9 in some shops yesterday. So people are coming down and playing Coastal Carolina as well. So my lean in this game would be the over. I think we could see points. I know there's a backup quarterback, but he's at about 2 games now. Kind of get his flow of things in this game. I couldn't find anything in the prop market worth consideration. But like I said, there's an over. So if you have some touchdown props, I wouldn't be opposed to getting involved and trying to make this game a fun one today. Because, not too many people are probably going to be watching this game.
Eric, do you have any plays from this game? I think you do. An under is what I see.
An under?
Spicy. Yeah, I do have a little bit of an under play here. We'll see. We're still I'm farming for information about whether or not Grayson McCall will indeed play today. We shall see.
Ooh.
We don't know yet.
That's probably why the line's coming down then.
Yeah, so it seems
and the over's coming up.
Correct, because we were at 8.5. Yesterday we ticked down to 7. I actually just saw that Circa had listed it at -6.5 on Troy. So this has been. We're looking at 2 points over the course of the past day. We'll see how this continues to move. If Grayson McCall is playing, that's a big deal, obviously, because he's a star. When it comes to my particular under, I like, because of the very reasons we're talking about, I'm taking a shot on Sam Pinckney under 51.5 receiving yards. Reason why is very simple. We've seen Jared Guest, their backup quarterback for Coastal Carolina. He has been horrific in terms of since coming in. I mean, not just bad, he's been terrible. So when you're going from with Grayson McCall to Jarrett Guest is not the same as we're talking about with Ohio, Rourke to, Harris. Jarrett Guest, 1-4 touchdown interception ratio. He's completed 19 of 42 passes for 272 yards over 3 games. He's not even averaging 100 yards passing per game. All right. 38.8 passing grade. That's just unacceptable. And frankly, that's something that should scare anybody who is thinking about back in Coastal Carolina. Throw in the fact that their head coach, Jamie Chadwell, is heading over to Liberty. Like, that's supposedly a done deal. He's still coaching here. Motivation factors. Does Grayson McCall just look at that and say, my head coach is gone? Do I transfer? Does he declare? Look, there's a lot of moving parts here. And it's not like the CCU defense is anything special either, all right? Look, they ranked 126 against the pass. Right? This is not a great team that – we're not the CCU of 2021 or 2020 that were some serious teams, okay? You got to get your head around that. I cannot in good conscience take CCU here because of the conjecture. I will advise, let's sit tight. Let's see what happens with Grayson McCall. Is he announced in? Is he announced out? We still don't have anything as of airing right now. I like Pinckney's under 51.5 receiving yards. I already have taken it. I would advise you guys to sit tight, find out what happens with McCall, and then be ready to pounce. He's a 51.5 on FanDuel right now.
Yeah, this line has to be implicating that McCall is going to play because I see it moving still. Because the over just went up to 50 now on DK. Coastal's not only plus 200 to plus 205 on the money line. That was literally like plus 230 when we started having this conversation. And why we've been having this conversation, Kansas State has come down to a pick'em versus TCU.
Wow.
They're both minus 110 on the money line as we speak.
5 by 2.5 points. Wow.
Yeah, there's a couple of lines moving right now, actually. If we just want to run through them real quick.
Yeah,
but
roll it.
Clemson has gone from minus 7.5 to minus 8. Michigan has gone from minus 16.5 and minus 17 down to minus 16. There's Purdue money coming in with Aiden O'Connell, probably pay to play today. UCF has moved to plus 4 pretty much everywhere now, which is good for a couple of us on the show. Wow. And Ohio just moved down to plus 100 and plus 2.5 on the spread as I'm speaking. So pros are playing Ohio as well. Let's ride.
Let's ride. And I didn't want to break down Eric's beautiful analysis, but I will say that the United States is back in the game. Go!
USA. We're alive, baby.
Oh, my God. We're back in the game. Okay, so when I was breaking down this game throughout the week, so what I try to do is I try to set a spread in the game. And this game, I couldn't figure out what it was. And then I was like, I looked at the spread and looked at my sheets and my notes, and I was like, wow, I can't believe Troy's the dog in this game. Coastal play absolutely zero defense with or without McCall. It's still a tough spot for Coastal Carolina today. I was really shocked, but now it makes more sense. I don't have a lead for this game. Let's move over. Fresno State, Boise State. Eric, kick us off with the prop.
Yeah, well, it's I like a prop where Vaughn had already kind of mentioned this player a little bit. Taylon Green mercifully took over for the defunct Hank Bachmeier, who, man, he lasted 3 years of starting there. Somehow, I don't know what pictures or information he had over the coaching
some kind
staff,
of dirt.
but he had something going on. But finally, mercifully, Taylon Green has taken over that spot. And gosh, what a revelation. Just having someone with a modicum of mobility to be able to avoid a rush, which Hank Bachmeier could not avoid a rush. Pressure to sack rate was horrific this year. But Taylon Green's been pretty darn good. He's gone over 200 passing yards in his last 6 games, and he even did pretty darn good against San Diego State. He was thrown in there, with much like Will Howard, not a lot of prep, but getting starters reps. You've seen him get better and better each week. He's been consistent. Like I've really been impressed with what I've seen by Taylon Green. They're playing a Fresno State team who we know, look, Jake Hayner's out there. They want to chuck. Okay. He's gone over 300 in 9 of 10 games, Hayner. So they want to play at a pretty quick pace. It's still a Kalen DeBoer inspired offense, even though he's at Washington. They did leave a couple of his staff members there. And they're going to want – I think there's going to be a quickly played game. Now, obviously, Boise State's defense is beyond reproach, top 10 in numerous categories, points per drive, yards per play. They've just been suffocating. So I do not feel like I can credibly say, all right, I'm all in on Hayner's 296.5 over. But I do think in terms of the pace of play, we're going to get a game that's going to have some velocity. It's going to have some changeover. I think that plays into Taylon Green's hands. And the fact that he's listed at 211.5 could get Stephen Cobbs back is what we're reading. He's at least questionable. He was their lead receiver coming into the season, even though you got Latrell Caples and Billy Bowen still who've done a pretty good job. I do think that this is going to be a competitive game. It's going to be a game where I am favoring Boise State, even though they are favored here, because I do think their defense is good enough to be able to at least be a problem for Fresno State. I don't see Fresno State being able to do that to Boise. So I am going with the over for Taylon Green, and I like the Broncos to win the conference championship for the Mountain West.
Well, I think V Money would love that because he's holding that Mountain West championship. Oh, yeah. Plus 425.
Oh. Yeah, it's a big day for a couple of futures. I know we all got a bunch of futures at hand.
Yeah,
today.
We do.
Eric's holding the Kansas State one. I know that. I lost North Texas last night. There was no hedgeability there, but it's okay. We got a UCF ticket as well today. I'm sure, Brad, you probably have that in your pocket too. So
I have a UCF and I have a Michigan in my pocket, and nice. I can't wait to talk about the Michigan one because we'll get to it. I'm gonna hold off and talk about this situation.
And I'll say this: my only thing, because I've already broken down the Boise State game and why I like them. They're my best bet today. So as of yesterday, we can actually implement these two games because they were rematches too for the USC Utah game and North Texas UTSA game. So teams that have now played back-to-back games or played the same opponent in a conference championship that they played early in the season, they are now 23-25 against the spread in the last 48 times. The team that lost the first game, all right, Fresno State lost this game by 20 points the first time these two teams met. And why teams have improved their scoring margin by about 8 points per game out of those last 46 games, not including the last two last night. Even if Fresno State does improve their scoring margin today, 20 points is a lot to improve on. I think Boise State covers that 3.
Love it.
And I think Eric wins his bet. Taylon Green balls out.
Yeah, heck yeah. Guys, I didn't get a chance to invite you guys. When you are watching us today, don't be afraid to ask questions. Our goal is here to help you guys and to make a ton of money together. So feel free to drop the questions in the chat. Press the like button. We're super stoked to have you guys. Let's get into the SEC championship. Probably one that's not going to be ultra competitive. LSU versus Georgia. Georgia, 17.5 point favorite. Total set at 51.5 yards. Since I haven't talked too much about my plays because I haven't had many in the last few games, I'll get this started with Kenny McIntosh over 66.5 rushing yards. Kenny's hit this number in a couple of his last few games, but what I really like attacking is this LSU run defense. So I do expect Georgia's going to be able to play with the lead here, but I do not believe that this game is going to be an instant blowout like everyone thinks, and McIntosh is going to be in the dressing room before the third quarter. I have him projected to get around 14 carries. He's averaging about, I think it's 3.2 yards per carry, and this against a LSU team who is 77th in defensive success rate against the run. The Georgia's attack and their game plan is no surprise. They're going to run this ball a good amount in this game. I like this setup for here, McIntosh. I was expecting his number to be in the 70s, which kind of scares me a little bit because I don't want to be that far off from what the book said it. But I'm taking this here. Eric, I want to get your thoughts on this prop when I put this one out.
Well, I like Kenny McIntosh in general as a player. He's a guy that I took in the C2C program startup in the offseason. I took him in the 29th round of that particular startup draft, which does project players going to the NFL. And he is, I believe, as of midseason, he was Dane Brugler's #1 senior running back in terms of projecting to the pro game. So I am a fan of his abilities. He's an incredible pass catching back, obviously, but
yeah,
it's the all-around ability why he's getting the majority of carries there. He's pretty, Kendall Milton had all the pub coming in the season. Big, physical, finishes runs, violence. I like the way that his running approach, but look, it's been Kenny McIntosh has taken control of that running back room. I like that over. It's not one that I played, but it's definitely one that I've looked at. I would have no problem taking it. In terms of the game and what I see and what I like personally, Georgia, look, we know their defense is incredible. It's just, it is. Offensively, what they want to do is, like I said, they're 10th in terms of their rush offense, 105th in terms of their pace of play. They're going to want to shorten this game and just get the hell out of here and get on to the CFP playoff, in my opinion. So I do like how I do think they're going to be approaching this game. For myself and what I'm personally on, LSU quarterback Jaden Daniels has been walking around in a boot for pretty much the past 2 weeks. Okay. It was clear the last game when he played that he was affected. It's an ankle injury. He is expected to play. However, you have a guy in Daniels who the value that he brings to that LSU offense is ability to make plays outside of structure when things break down, stepping up in the pocket, rolling out, being able to make those throws on the run, which he does a nice job at. What I don't think he's going to be able to do as well is designed runs against this Georgia defense. They're going to have to come up. They're going to have to throw the kitchen sink. All right, Brian Kelly, get creative because you got nothing to lose here.
Nothing.
Right, pull out all the stops. But the problem is, I don't think he's going to want to put Jaden Daniels in harm's way since he knows if he gets banged up and he can't play, in comes Garrett Nussmeier or Walker Howard, a couple of inexperienced guys that are going to get feasted upon by the Georgia defense. So where his value is being a dual threat, I don't think he can do it. The way I saw him moving around, I don't think he's going to be able to clear 39.5 rushing yards, which is where his current line is at. It was at 44.5. It has since gone down, and that's because people have been betting it down. It's at 35.5 on FanDuel. So I think you're asking a real lot of Jaden Daniels, injured, bad ankle, playing the vaunted Georgia defense. It's the top 3 unit for the past 5 years, pretty much.
Yeah.
You're asking a lot of him to, one, avoid sacks, all right, which are going to take, rushing yards away, as we talked about with Caleb Williams when he was banged up last night. He had 91 yards in the bank, and he still didn't go over in the second half because of his lack of ability to avoid the rush. I think we got a similar situation here with Jaden Daniels. I'm going under 38.5 rushing yards. Yeah, I know he's been crushing that. This is a different ball game. This is a different team, and he's injured. Under 38.5 yards.
Let me ask you guys a serious question, like a life or death question. Squad ride number 2?
Squad ride number 2!
Squad ride number 2.
Let's go.
Let me lock it in.
Regulators,
Let me lock it in.
Regulators, mount up.
I saw it was still available, so I was like, all right, I'll lock it in.
Lock it in, absolutely.
Okay.
Do I have it, Vaughn? Can you toss some down for me on that?
You know that I just did a few moments ago. But I'm also going to say this. We were talking, we had our NFL against the spread call this morning, Brad and I, with a couple other people.
Just moved. Wow.
And let me get that real quick then. And we were talking about how the rushing props, people think it's so dumb that quarterbacks account for negative rushing yards in college football. I think it's amazing that we get props on these guys. Bryce Young last year in the national championship against Georgia finished with like negative 30 rushing yards. And his prop was like 12.5, 22.5 it started out and kept dropping. Georgia is the ultimate team to back an under rushing prop against. So, yeah, squad ride number 2 today. Let's go.
Hell yeah.
And I guess I should give out my pick too.
Yeah, give it your pick, dude.
I like your guys' too. But mine is easy. Georgia first half. Eric, you gave this out, so I'm telling you because you gave this out on Bet the Edge. And honestly, when I kept looking at it, I fell in love with that play because Kirby Smart has 2 coached games against LSU since he's been the Georgia head coach. LSU won 37-10 and 36-16 back in 2019 and 2018. Well, guess what? Since that time, Georgia has become the best version of themselves, the best defense in the country. And as you said, Eric, they want to get up in the first half and get the hell out of there and be healthy for the college football championship. So Georgia first half, a team that had 0 points in 2018 against LSU, and only had 3 points in the first half and 29 against LSU. Kirby Smart's going to be like, I remember that vividly, and we will not repeat that today. So I like Georgia in the first half minus the 10, and I'll be squad riding Jaden Daniels under rushing yards as well. Let's go.
Yeah, this is Kirby Smart's got to be happy. Oh my God, the line moved again. Wow. My bet not accepted.
Boy, welcome to my world, everybody.
I got it in.
As I post anything on Twitter, this is what happens every time.
Right. Let's see.
I got it in.
Okay, I'm in.
That's my boy. Vaughn.
I always do the thing where I put it in and then it goes and it gets red. You know when it does like the bet not accepted? Oh, that's the worst. But yeah, Kirby Smart is a coach where I am upset. You know, I get upset when Alabama loses coordinators. He was the most I was upset because his preparation is normally pretty good. He's not always the best in-game manager, adjustment guy, but he is very prepared. So I like your first half bet there. I'm probably going to sprinkle a little bit of money on that. Let's talk about the game that I'm going to be really excited for as a UCF alum. UCF versus Tulane. Tulane, a 2.5-point favorite. Eric, kick us off. Tell us your prop, what you like and why.
Sure. Well, Clemson, USC. You know, this is the game that we thought could mean something, but UNC and NC State had something to say about the relevance of this particular contest. UNC backing in to this. Two straight games, just putting up a couple of stinkers. In terms of what I'm on for this game, because we only have 12 minutes, and I do want to be respectful to the people who are trying to get these in before these games start, because I sometimes go right up to the wire and they can't get them in, and I want to, all my peeps. But love.
Let's get them in.
I'm just going to get them in quick. Clemson, UNC. I like Josh Downs under 94.5 receiving yards. Okay, this is Clemson. We've seen the past two games. Teams have been blanketing Downs. All right, it's clear what they've been trying to do. They're bracketing him with coverage, and they're making Drake May try to make plays to the outside. We saw Antoine Green. He's banged up. Okay, he has not been as effective the past couple of games, which has really put the onus on Downs. Up at 94.5. I just think that's a lot of yardage. We're talking about Clemson. Obviously, I love Drake May. Nothing but respect. He's excellent. But this is the Clemson defense, and we are going to be dealing with a ferocious pass rush from Brian Brzee and Miles Murphy. Also, Davis Allen, 31.5 receiving yards. Didn't catch a single pass last game. Okay? Was actually voided at a couple of books who should be ashamed of themselves, because all you have to do is check the snap count because he was out there. And BetMGM, I'm talking to you. Shameful not paying out on Davis Allen under 31.5 receiving yards. I'm taking that again. I'm running it back. I don't believe in DJU. All right. I know how bad the UNC defense is. I understand. You do not have to go chapter and verse on that. I don't believe, plain and simple, that this UNC team has got enough juice to be able to really stand up to Clemson's defense. At the same time, I don't believe in DJU either. Okay, He's a 222.5. I can't take that over. Cade Klubman could be in the second quarter, and we just don't know. So I can't credibly really back DJU's over. I'm not saying that's a hard play for me, but I'm saying that's a lean that I'm certain looking at. But I am on the under for Downs and Davis Allen. I think this is going to be a slower game than what is being predicted. And we got Brad that is falling out. We got Adam Vaughn, toss him back in. We got BLTs back. The third goal for Netherlands knocked him out is what happened.
It knocked me out too, because I had Netherlands 2-1 to win that game. So I'm pretty upset that just happened. What happened, Brad? Did you see it happen?
I didn't see it happen. My computer crashed. So I'm riding blind with you guys. I don't have a thought on this game either. But let's say this real quick about USA. 2 seconds is, guys, we made it to the round of 16. We are prepping for our golden generation. In next 4 years, we are going to be a top 10 soccer club. I didn't say football, soccer. So just be excited, celebrate, regardless, win or lose. We still booze. All right.
Listen, the only way we're going to be a top 10 soccer team, okay, is if you take every prospect for the next 5 years that Alabama and Georgia go and recruit, and you just put them in the soccer program, and then we will dominate the entire world in soccer. That's all we got to do is take our Georgia and Bama recruits. But we don't do that because we have better sports. Sorry, the rest of the world. Stupid soccer. Anyway, okay, I'm sorry, go.
No, you like that. I was going to say the only thing, North Carolina's defense scares me. If we're taking an over on a Clemson prop, I'd rather be taking Will Shipley than DJU. But North Carolina does fit a trend. This trend was also actually pretty cool when I read this per Action Network, although last night it did fail me. So now 19-5 against the spread. Teams that have failed to cover multiple games entering a conference championship. North Texas and North Carolina were two teams that failed to cover their last two games. And that spread was 19-4, now 19-5. So it makes me want to play North Carolina, but I'd rather just have a Drake May over 290.5 passing yards in my pocket or something like that, because that's my guy. And also, one thing I'll say before we move on to UCF Tulane, because I know we both have bets in that, Brad. For bowl season, make sure you're paying attention to these guys that are going to be in and out, skipping out for bowls. For drafts, they're going to new schools with the NIL. This is now a completely different ball game than it's been the past 2 or 3 seasons, because guys like Drake May are getting offered hundreds of thousands of dollars to go to another school and play football. He's going to be a Heisman contender next year. So there's plenty of guys that could just say, why play here when I can go get $200K somewhere else? And that's the reality of what we're doing in college football now. So just be wary of betting bowl season right now.
Cool. Let's get over to the American. I don't even consider my bet a well thought out one in terms of UCF winning the American. I was actually not. When I say that is UCF winning the American. When I bet them preseason, their way of winning and getting there was way different than I thought. They're doing this with a good mixture of good defense and John Reese Plumlee turning into Gus Malzahn turning him into a legitimate quarterback. He came out with his hamstring. A lot of people were questioning whether he was going to play or not. And I've been monitoring the situation. He's practiced full all week. And Malzahn said the best thing. He goes, John came out of the game because he's banged up. And he goes, but at what point, who in the country is not banged up right now? She said, show me one player who's 100%. And I'm betting UCF +4 here. I think this is a game where we have to recognize that UCF will be able to do what they want on the ground against this Tulane team. This UCF team led the American in rush yards per game. Tulane's one of the worst in the conference at stopping the run, which also leads me to my next play. John Reese Plumlee over rushing yards. John Reese Plumlee, he's so good at not taking sacks, which is always key when you're betting these overs. And he's going to want to be electric. He's going to want to show the world his hammy's not banged up. He's not going to beat you in the air. It's just facts. He's not going to do that. He had 170-ish rushing yards in the game they played last game. He pretty much could have ran whenever he wanted in that game. He's going to get double-digit runs. So go ahead and tee this one up, Vaughn. Tell me what you like.
Same thing, man. I'm on UCF +4. We got that American conference ticket in our pocket. Tulane is 10-2 against the spread this season. One of the best ATS teams in the entire country. So some people are going to be on auto bet mode. That's why we've seen the spread from 2.5, 3 move up to the 4. But the two of the games that Tulane did not cover against UCF and also against SMU. But I'm looking at a very interesting trend here. So, of course, Tulane has covered 2 straight games, 10 of their last 12. Teams that have been on cover streaks of 2 or more entering their conference championship and are the favorite are 1-10 ATS in the last 11 times. So my face lit up when I saw that. But UCF, 2 great quarterbacks, amazing defense. They can run. They can do it all. Every model I use, every expert that I value their opinion in, thought UCF was a 10-11 team win this season, and I still believe that too. So I got UCF to win today and cover.
All right, for my props, real quick, because we're getting down to nut cutting time. JRP, John Reese Plumlee, as mentioned by Brad, I am on under 212.5 passing yards for him. This is a pretty easy one. This was almost my play of the day. Frankly, it should be a second best bet. Last game, went out against UCF, was banged up. Gus Malzahn, as discussed, mentioned, hey, look, he's banged up. Previous game, though, against Navy, 11 of 18. 107 yards, an interception. Previous game of that, which was Tulane, 17 of 30 for 132 passing yards, 1 touchdown. Game before that, Cincinnati, 7 of 11, 71 passing yards. Last 4 games, he hasn't crossed 132. Okay. And a reason for that is, one, he's not a very good passer. Two, he's banged up. Okay. So you're already talking about, and we talked about this with Daniels. This is not a surprise to anybody. He's banged up, and he's playing against a Tulane team that has proven to be a ferocious defense. Like, got to give it up to Willie Fritz and everything he's done there.
Good.
And this is the past 4 games that Plumlee hasn't come even close to sniffing that 212 mark. I just don't think you can do this against 2 good teams that are going to be battling. One other prop I like in that, Tyjae Spears. Obviously, we've seen him go nuclear, literally, for the entire second half of the season. What he does not do is catch passes. Okay? He's at 10.5 receiving yards. He's gone under that in 6 of the last 7 games. With the last one, he's only getting 1 target per game, every game. Okay? His role is locked in. He is there to carry the ball. They're not getting fancy. Don't get cute with this. Sprinkle a little bit on his under 10.5 receiving yards. If it hits 6 of the last 7, it's just something they don't do in the offense. Take advantage of that.
I like that. Brad, before you go, Kansas State just moved to a 1-point favorite.
Wow. Talk about some CLV, baby.
That's what we like. Dude, 2.5. It moved. That was 2.5 yesterday. It was minus 2.5. Now
Let's
they're
go
plus
Wildcats. 1. Do it for America.
Wow.
USA just let us down. Kansas State, do it for America.
Yes.
Do it for America.
Get Alabama in the playoff.
Oh my God. If Alabama gets in the playoffs, I'd probably just start crying. Like, I'd probably real tears, real human tears, because it's something that I didn't even expect would even be possible. Something I wasn't even hoping for. It's like, when you have a single dollar in your pocket and you go to the gas station, you're like, crap, I have $1. Let me buy a scratch off. And then you hit for 150. You're like, holy snap, I could have bought bubble gum or something, but I bought the scratch off and I'm $150 richer.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I will give, since we're 1 minute out, I will give 2 more plays that I'm kind of cool on that I didn't get a chance to get to. Toledo. I like their tight end, Jamal Turner's under 29.5 receiving yards. I also, and this is kind of more of a sprinkle, this is a big one, I love Juwan Newton. I haven't had a chance to talk about him much. He's at 50.5 receiving yards. I like his over. Okay, his ADOT is 17 yards throughout the entire course of the season. All right. He is a bomb thrower. Not to mention that, but he breaks tackles. He had like 25% broken tackle rate for a receiver, and that's like running back numbers. I have a little thing for Juwan Newton. I hope he goes over that 50.5 receiving yards. I threw a little sprinkle on him.
I like that.
Awesome.
Won't disagree there.
What's your next one? I got another one.
Cornelius.
Oh, yes. UConn Cornelius. Of course. Cornelius Johnson. Mr. Johnson, with all due respect, he did a nice job last game. Nothing to take away from him. Had a great game against Ohio State. That little curl route he caught on the outside and then ditched. The converging corner was a play of the game type thing. That was incredible. But look, the sugar high is worn off. We're not playing Ohio State anymore. The kitchen sink has already been thrown out. We're playing Purdue. I see a much more conservative game script here. Again, I think once they get up, you're going to see a lot of that RPO with J.J. McCarthy, which is why I'm on that over. But I like the under for Cornelius Johnson. Okay, he's over there hanging at 39.5 at DraftKings. Besides Ohio State, let's look at his past few games. Illinois, week 12, 38 yards, 5 of 6. I mean, God, he got 6 targets, got 5 passes. He only got 38 yards. And that kind of falls in with his previous game. Nebraska, 1 of 2 for 12. Game before that, Rutgers, 3 of 5 for 18. Michigan State, 1 of 2 for 7. Okay? So that's the 4 previous games to Ohio State, and you see what the trends are. Okay? I just can't sit here and say Cornelius Johnson is going to drop $160 and 2 touchdowns every week with what I see the game going, the script, the slower pace I think we're going to see than what we had against Ohio State. I'm backing that under. I think this is a reactionary line to what happened last week, and he goes under.
I love it. I love that. I don't have a bet for any of the games tonight, but I do want to encourage everyone since we have a looks like your phone is
for some reason the volume's still happening.
We have Army and Navy next
There we
week.
go.
Army and Navy next week. We won't have a show on December 10th. Our next show is going to be December 17th for bowl season. Since there's no games next week, only Army Navy. Army Navy, the under is a magnificent 16-1-1 in the last 18 times. Has cashed over 12 straight times. So I want awarded 2 best bets for this show. Since I'm 6-7, I want Boise State to be my best bet today, and then the under in Army and Navy to be my second best bet, so I can get above 500. Is that fair, guys?
Yes, that's totally fair.
All right, thank you, guys.
Fair.
Appreciate
Yes,
it.
thank you. Yeah. We kind of touched on Michigan. Did you give any plays in Michigan yet, Vaughn? I was disconnected.
I did not. I leaned Purdue's team total over 17.5 for plus money. If Aiden O'Connell's got it going on, obviously his brother passed away prior to the Indiana game. It was a very emotional performance for him. He did cash Eric and our squad rides over passing yards. I automatically came back to that. It was at 274.5. It's down at 234.5. Eric broke this down on Bet the Edge on Thursday. So automatically I look at Aiden O'Connell's passing, Purdue team total, because they are the spoiler makers, but I might not get to the window on them.
Yeah, no, I ended up taking Michigan minus 16.5, 16 early in the week. Line's probably going to keep coming down towards Michigan. But cashing this Big Ten championship ticket is going to be fun because in another podcast, What's the Spread, the co-host is a Buckeye alum. And when we did our future show, I told him I was on Michigan. I think we almost had to stop doing the podcast together. So, I always got to tell you guys, bet with your wallet, not your heart. And my wallet was on Michigan. I said if they beat Ohio State in the game on the road, they're going to have a cupcake opponent. I was hoping for someone a little bit more like Iowa. Iowa failed to win that game, but we still get Purdue. I'm still down with it. Pretty good for me. Do you guys want any other games you guys want to cover before we wrap up?
No. Do we all want to see USC versus Iowa in a bowl game? Is that what we want this year?
Oh my God. Iowa puts up 34 points. You're like, wait, what? Same Iowa?
But they commit 4 turnovers. Right.
Yeah. They do. Oh man.
So, thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you guys like the YouTube channel for sure. You guys are the best.
Appreciate everything.
Eric, close them out. Eric,
Definitely,
close them out.
I appreciate everything. What a great season we've had here. This is kind of an impromptu thing that NBC Sports let us do at the end of the season, at the end of the end of the summer, where we said, look, we think we can do this. Can we get a show? We think this would hit, and that there's a market for it. And I'm proud to say that of all the NBC Sports Edge products and live shows that put out, we've been consistently week after week the highest rated one in terms of viewership. The basketball, the pro stuff, all of it. We've been number one across all NBC Sports Edge products, and it's because of you. So I just want to thank everybody because we've had, a lot of repeat questioners, I would say. Some of our favorites. Marty, there's Hindu Kush. There's a whole host of people.
We got Art, we got Shane, we got Angel.
Yeah.
Angel. So many people.
Yeah.
So many of them that have been with us through the entire season, and without you guys, we wouldn't be here, and it just it gives us a lot of positive momentum going into next season when NBC Sports will have the Big Ten at night. We have the Big Ten after dark starting next year. So, we're really excited about what that breeds for our future, and the fact that we've been supported so heavily by the community and everybody. I cannot thank you enough. It means the world to me. If there's anything anybody needs, at CF Froton on Twitter, hit me up. If I got a play I can get out to you before we go live so you can get it in, let me know. I'm always answering DMs. I'm a man of the people. I'm just a dude. So I appreciate you. Thank you. Sincerely.
Thank you, guys.
From the bottom of my heart.
Beautiful. I think that's how we wrap it up. Great job, Eric. Thank you, everyone. Best of luck.